atau sesi kali ini, speaker jemputan kita adalah Yang Berbahagia Dr. Hazli Zakaria. Beliau merupakan Presiden Persatuan Psikiatri Malaysia. Dan sesi ini akan dikendalikan oleh dua orang moderator yang berusaha arkitek Mumtazah Mustajab dan arkitek Samsiah Abdullah. Dipersilakan.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. I hope everybody can hear me. Yes. All right. Okay. Assalamualaikum again and salam sejahtera. It's already almost lunchtime. I know perhaps some of us dah terbau-bau apa masakan kat dapur or perhaps thinking of what to eat for lunch lah, kan? But bear with us, another session. Here's another session. Kita sembang-sembang santai saja, ya. Again, welcome to PAM Southern Chapter webinar series, and today we are celebrating World Architecture Day 2021, where the theme is clean environment for a healthy world. Yeah, so this is a collaboration between PAM Southern Chapter and PAM KL CSR committee, and in fact today also marks the first PAM medical series for organized by the committee for the next few months. PAM medical series will be inviting various medical professionals of different topics related to the health and well-being of our PAM members. Yeah, so actually, perhaps due to our day-to-day busy schedule, we didn't realize that tomorrow, 10th of October 2021 is in fact the World Mental Health Day. Yeah, so hence the topic for the session, a cup of coffee with your doctor, the cause of depression when your coffee no longer tastes the same. Yeah, so I hope you have your coffee with you. In fact, a little bit too much coffee for one day, but nevertheless, over to you, Architect Mumtazah.
Thank you, Architect Samsiah. Cheers to coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished audience, Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon. Siau hao. Vanakkam. First, let us begin the program for today by offering our prayers in any manner of our beliefs to the frontliners whom has stood dutifully firm in the fight against COVID-19, as well as those who have left us as a result of this pandemic. A moment of silence. Al-Fatiha. Amin. Right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La yadurru ma'asmi syai'un fil ardi wala fis sama' wa huwas samiul alim. Semoga dijauhkan segala masalah-masalah. Okay, the objective of PAM Medical Series is to impart recognition on the impact of architects' works, culture on the health of architects, and the impact of health on the design of the built environment. So currently developing self and health awareness is actually an important aspect of managing an organization, especially in kita punya keadaan ya, the creative architecture practice. With that, it is also an added benefit for employers and employees, as this habit tends to continue outside of the organization. Now, as in architectural practices, although organizations tend to focus more on industrial and standard occupational safety and health SOPs during work time, but ramai actually have overlooked the actual physical well-being related to mental stress, related to nutrition, working relationship dalam office, family well-being dalam keluarga, and actually also physical health. And the stress becomes even apparent during the recent economic downturns, pandemic lockdowns, uncertain futures, and the likes. Hence, this became the main reason for CSR committee to organize a series of medical talks focusing more on the well-being of PAM members themselves and those under their care. So just as buildings yang kita design require maintenance, badan kita pun require maintenance juga ya. Now, due to that, we have here with us Dr. Hazli Zakaria, the President of the Malaysian Psychiatric Association, who will share with us on caring our mental well-being. Now, Dr. Hazli is also a consultant psychiatrist and clinical director of Alaminda Dr. Hazli, Dr. Yeo and Partners Specialist Clinic in Shah Alam. He was a lecturer at UKM, a medical officer in Hospital Besar Kuala Lumpur, and was an intern di Hospital Kubang Krian. Now, he is also a board member of the Psychodynamic chapter of the World Psychiatric Association. Now, bukan calang-calang orang ni ya, and has represented Malaysia in the ASEAN region. The award-winning doctor has received his ribbons in various local, regional, and international levels. Now, before we go on, I would just like to inform participants semua, please post your questions on the Q&A bar. But at the same time, we will also treat this as santai and as interactive, so you can also switch on your microphone. So do ask him any questions and allude to him all our aspirations as architects. Seriously, dia pesan, any questions, anytime. So Dr. Hazli will speak first for the first 10 minutes or so, and after that, we will either read out your questions or you can just angkat tangan or just switch on your mic. And then we can move along as we go. So without further ado, we now invite Dr. Hazli. Dr. Hazli, the screen is yours.
Yes, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat tengah hari. Have a good day for everyone. It's a Saturday, right? And we are still working. So then we complain why we stress out because we overwork. But the problem is we are not working, other people will work and then make us feel bad because we are not working as hard as others. So, and then we blame, who should we blame? We should blame, but most of us, we blame ourselves. For those who blame themselves, they are the ones who come to see me. And then for those who blame others, they are happy. That's what we normally do, right? Good. I would like to thank all the organizing committee for the invitation, and I also would like to thank COVID-19. You know why? If not due to COVID-19, I'm pretty sure none of us know that. Oh, there is a World Mental Health Day. We never know there is a World Mental Health Day. After the pandemic, we just realized, and then after the pandemic also, we give a little bit more attention to the mental health, more than what we should. More than what actually is, we should give this attention much earlier. Okay, before I continue, Belete, let me start the slides here. And then we got some. This will stop. Yes. Basically, we should not ask how good our mental health. We should ask ourselves, am I healthy? Regardless whether it's physical, social, or mental or spiritual. Because health should include all. And more important, health not just the absence of the illness. WHO defined that healthy means that we are in the state of complete mental, physical, and social well-being, not just the absence of the disease. Myself also, if I go and check, I'm pretty sure my cholesterol setinggi KLCC, menara KL, Twin Tower, kalau pergi check. But most of us, we assume that we are not having any of the disease because we not really go and measure it. So we thought that we are healthy. It's all maybe we are pseudo-healthy because we do not go and check. Again, it's a state of well-being when we're talking about mental health, and then we realize our own abilities, and then we cope when there are challenges, and at the end, how we measure productivity. That's the problem with us. We measure how much we manage to produce as a way whether we are fit and well, and then occasionally or how much we contribute to the community. It's not the contribution to the community, actually, how the community see us, whether we contribute or not. That also to tell us whether we are mentally healthy or not. The way I see it, again, I make it simplified, the way how to see whether we are mentally healthy or not, asking these 3 questions. 1, do you feel good about yourself? You feel good? You feel you like yourself, good enough to like yourself? You don't need any more likes in the social media to see how much you worth? Or if you ask yourself, if you feel good about yourself, you like yourself, why you have to put so many cream to look fairer, to look whiter? Why can't you be comfortable with your own skin? The second criteria, whether to know whether we are mentally healthy or not, whether others, people around you, like to be with you, to be surrounded, to join you, to connect to you. Now, when you go back to office or after the MCO lifted, you can go and have a food meal, dining in. Yeah, how many of you having difficulties to ajak orang to dine in? They said they are busy doing something else, but in their social media, they're having fun with other people. The second criteria that not many people like you, that also it's an indicator whether you are mentally healthy or not. The last one, when there are challenges, when we are able to overcome that, that's what we think, you are mentally strong. That's the reason people give us more and more and more tasks, and then we manage to do that. Wow, I'm strong mentally to do that. But how about another 2 criteria? Do we fulfill that or not? We know that mental health is important. As I said, pandemic made us realize that even more. There is no health without mental health. But how many of us being in this mental state that we are very anxious and very scared that anytime we are going to fall down? That's okay also, because life is not just going to be at the top and the no challenges, because the one of the definition when we able to overcome that. The problem is when we have this be in this situation for so long, so often. How many of us scream so loudly but so silently until no one heard? We went into our restroom and screamed, but no one listened because we don't want people to listen. Then when we get out from the restroom, when someone asks us, how are you? How do you feel? Do you think what will be the reply? The answer will be, I'm okay, I'm fine, even though we are not. We just did scream just now. What could be the reason for us so not be truthful to our own emotion, our own feeling? How many of us comfortable to tell others about their emotion? Who teach us to be pretender, to be a liar? But in the office, to our subordinate, please, you guys try to be honest with me. Tell me, everything, are you okay, guys? Okay, how are you? Everyone okay. And then we report to the big boss in my department. Everyone said they are okay. But behind our back in the pantry, when we still able to go to the office last time, membawang like crazy. So that is what will happen to us. We never tell the truth. In fact, we are not comfortable. When we have the emotion, we suppress it until we no longer able to feel it. And then when people ask, how are we going to tell the truth if we never able to use it? To experience it. So how do you know whether we are mentally fit if you are no longer ability to feel it and then be truthful to yourself? When you are in this very difficult situation, when people ask you, even your colleague, how are you? I'm fine. Even you are stuck, and then there is feeling so suffocated when people ask you, how are you? How do you feel today? When you came out from the car after they had an argument, heated argument with your spouse inside the car, came out, and then people, hey, how are you? Let's go. And then for lunch, how are you today? I'm fine. Even when you ask this man, what would the reply be? I'm fine. In fact, that is what our the normal people should be. Have a variety of emotion. And then we are expect that. But how come when we have this variety of emotion, only certain emotion that we are comfortable with? We are supposed to know also whether how the state of mind, what the state of feeling, what state of emotion, what is the general state of our well-being right now. Are there any tests, any swab tests that we can do, any thermometer that to see whether level of anxiety, that stress that we have? We do have, but what do we believe that? So the important for us to appreciate that mental health is a continuum. There is a certain state of phase, but it keeps changing. It's a continuum that at certain part of the day, certain part of the week, certain part of the month, we may be different, which at the part of the spectrum where we are. So when we realize this, we also appreciate that other people also may be different, not at the same as us. The problem is we always use ourselves as a reference point. We expect them to be like that. How come my mate lari, I only MC for 2 days. How come you 7 days? Something, hey, last time my mate lari with my husband also, I'm 2 days MC only, you know. So that is the reason when we think everyone have to use us as a reference point. We know the stress is nothing bad about that. Stress is a normal. Stress is not illness. Stress is not something we should be afraid of, provided we know how much stress is good for us. That is the reason we have a good stress, a bad stress. If you don't like your subordinate, some of your staff that you want to get rid, don't give them work. Don't let them do any work. They will be rusted. They feel they are useless. They will leave. But if you give more and more, they still function, and then they will complain. But the point that I try to emphasize here, like anything in life, we need to have just enough the balance to make us feel function at the optimal level. So the important thing is for every one of us to know what is the range of stress and pressure that make us able to function at the optimal level at work, at home, anywhere. And we also need to know when we already crossed the distress level, because we know about it, but we have been suppressed that all this time, and we have been ignoring all the signs that the body tells us. When it's too late, and then we just realize. The idea, we need to know what is the range of pressure that makes us feel good, and then know when it's less, make us feel not functioning well, and when we realize it's too much for us, and what are we going to do about it? So that is really what happened when we don't have much pressure at all. We are going to feel bored, and then we don't feel good about ourselves also. And certain level of stress make us alert and then more creative. But suddenly when it's too much, we become having the difficulties to focus, not able to make decisions, start to be irritable, confused. If your staff keep confused lah, boss, keliru lah apa, you never know that this person maybe it's not that stupid code. Otherwise, why you accept this person to be in your team? But maybe there is a level of stress a bit too much already, and we don't want to avoid burnout. Burnout is the stress level is too much that happen in the workplace. So we already know, oh, it's about stress lah jadi penyakit mental illness. No, stress is, as I said, it's a normal physiological. It's supposed to be something good if we know how to use it. Stress can trigger for the certain mental illness. So that is the difference between stress and depression. Again, can be a form of mental illness. Again, most of us use depressed for many reasons that is out or not the same as someone else. Some people tak boleh merentas di negeri pun dah depressed. So that they use the depressed. That sometimes the terminology is not helping us to understand the experience also. Make us even more confused, make us don't want to know about it, make us afraid of it. That is the stigma, is number one enemy for us. Because of the stigma, that make us not reach out early and then detect, diagnose, and go for the proper treatment management to achieve recovery faster. Just like any other illness, there is a treatment and the people can recover from that. So poor mental health and mental illness, two different things. Yeah, mental illness and poor mental health, two different things. So that's why we need to know where we are, and then we can go further. What kind of support required, whether we need a professional help or we can just get from our colleague in the workplace. So that is important for us to know who we are and what level we are. So for those who already develop mental illness, they should go and get assessment first. And in order for us to develop mental illness yang mana satu? Okay, next time don't just say penyakit mental. Which one that we are talking about? We have more than 400 illnesses, diseases when we are talking about mental illness, which varies in terms of the prognosis and or the treatment and everything. Dia semua je. Senangnya kita ni nak susah sebab kita kata senang macam mana kita nak memudahkan kerja. Everything we put under one umbrella we call gila. Tak betul, psycho. Kan senang, but that is so wrong. We have to know which mental illness. Are we talking about depressions, bipolar, schizophrenia, panic disorder, dementia, substance abuse? There are so many, but we don't even know. Because why? Because we never thought that we are going to have one of them. But we didn't realize that the possibility for us to have depression is even much higher than for us to have COVID-19 infection. So the idea that we have to remember also, in order for us to develop mental illness is not easy. Dalam erti kata lain, nak jadi gila susah. Nak buat gila-gila senang. Dan kita boleh bezakan di antara orang yang gila-gila, buat gila dan betul-betul gila. Because in order for us to develop depression, for example, bipolar, they need to have many other factors. From the biological factors, ada genetik ke tak, ada tak berlaku apa-apa during pregnancy, ada tak berlaku ada fall, ada during the traumatic event that caused this person taking substance ataupun tidak. Psychological also, upbringing, perfectionist, bully, abuse. And we have to look from the social factors, the support system, whether they're employed, not employed. This also contribute for the person to develop mental illness. And we have to remember the protective factors, which is usually come from the spiritual and the religiosity and the support system that we have. And the stressor is still happen. What? To trigger a breakup, divorce, disappointment, backstabbing, tak dapat pangkat, bangunan runtuh. Example of that. The trigger that we saw all that, sebab itulah dia depressed. Sebab apa? Sebab husband dia lari dengan mate dia. No, that is not. That's the trigger that make all the things happen for the person to develop depressions. For those banyak juga mate yang husband lari dengan mate dia lagi happy sebab tak payah dia nak jaga lagi suami dia yang menyusahkan itu. So the idea is okay for us to have a mental illness. Nothing wrong with that. As long that we are optimally managed and treated. At the end, like we don't have any illness. But if not, we are very untreated and then cause a lot of problems. The same thing also, we're not necessarily having a mental illness, but our mental health was not in good condition. It's a very poor. So what we need to have, hopefully we are in this quadrant. All the architect belongs to PAM, they're all in this quadrant. Good mental health and also good and not having a mental illness. But unfortunately, sometimes we are being tested and challenged with certain things. The whole idea for me to highlight that nothing's wrong if we have a mental illness, which one that sometimes without we realize we have a poor mental health, which need some strategy as well. So we cannot deny the work that this pandemic made us realize how important for work to us, not just giving us financial support and freedom, but that's where we are connecting with our colleagues. So please, when we able to go back to work later, get reconnected and then try the different meaning of value that given by this work to us, not just money. Otherwise, we lost the chance to utilize it. Because if we just focus on stress, We always stress out, and that's not going to make us any different. So with that, just as an introduction, so for us to start asking questions, and then of course, or want to share their opinion or their experience is very much welcome. I give back to Architect Mumtazah and also Architect Samsia for us to have continue the discussion and conversation.
That was really fun. I most love to see you smiling always. It's really good. It makes life brighter with your talk. Now we have one question here. Any ways to solve the mental problems among architects due to the feeling of being chronically underpaid or financial pressures versus the liability to the shoulder?
Wow. Wow, that is a very good question. Kenapa kan? Sebab kita jangan, nanti balik baca sikit the hierarchy of needs pada Abraham Maslow. Maslow hierarchy of needs yang dia kata kita ada kena satisfied dulu kan dia punya tingkat-tingkat tu. First kita kena basic needs lah. Dari segi apa? Dari segi kita punya tempat tinggal, makanan is for our survival. We need to fulfill that first before we are talking about the second level of needs. We are talking about example of psychological safety or feeling to be cared for. Jadi kalau tak ada makanan atas meja, tak payahlah nak bagi counselling apa-apa, suruh dia tu bersemangat tinggi, berfikiran lagi strong dia tu. No, you have to make sure that the person have enough to fulfill their needs, their physiological needs. Sleep, have a good sleep, have a good food to eat. Tak payahlah makan mahal, makanan, perlukan makanan sunnah all the time for the needs that can fulfill the energy for the person to continue to work. The problem is, how can we tell whether enough is enough? No, it's never enough. You give how much money also, we always think is underpaid compared to, if we compare to others that get a better paid. Of course lah, when look at Architect Mumtazah, dia semuanya banyak duit, and always lah kita rasa macam tu. And then the important for us to me, the first thing is important for us to know about ourselves. This pandemic, COVID-19, actually they allow us, they force us to do reflection, to see how much do we really need, which one is need, which one is wishes. Which one is that we, in order for us to continue survive, which one that that make us nice to look, to show in our social media. Then we know ini banyak benda yang we don't utilize it. So the important, yes, of course, we have to have a minimal income that need to sustain. We need to do that. But interesting enough, when we see the relationship between financial money and the happiness or the feeling satisfaction, is not just straight, there is a certain part when the more money that we have, we start to have poor mental health rather than very good mental health. That is very true, because that's why after we have enough money to sustain our needs and a little bit more of our wishes, we need to give back. We need to give back to the community. That's the reason that Islam, and I'm sure in other religions also, we have to pay zakat. We have to sedekah, because we need to give what we have left. Because if not, it's going to be a kind of liability to us. See how wonderful the whole idea is. That's the reason we need to Architect Mumtazah dah banyak duit, tolonglah buat foundation, tolong lagi B40 dapat a better quality of life, a better house. So the idea is, please look back to ourselves, know ourselves again, start to like ourselves, to fall in love with ourselves a little bit more, but not too much. If too much, you have to come to see me also.
That was excellent, Dr. Hazli. Yes, Architect Farid, you have a question.
Oh no, I was just interested that you are the highest paid.
Oh, I wish. Architect Hazri, I see your hands dah naik tu.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me? Can I? Okay, right. Thank you,
I
Dr.
can
Hazri.
hear
And
you, but I cannot see you.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Architect Murtaza, and the other moderator, Architect Samsia, and our chairman, Architect Farid, and especially my thank you to Dr. Hazri for your very interesting sharings, and very cheerful doctor actually. Very cheerful doctor. I smile when I look at you. Okay, during this COVID pandemics, there's a lot of reports saying that there's people are stressed, people are the major cause that someone succumb to high level of despair and eventually taking his own life. So what makes someone takes such a very drastic decisions to that manner of things that really get into end of his life? Perhaps your take on that. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, when we're talking about suicide, self-harm, it's very difficult for us to understand and then find the reason to understand again, because naturally, secara fitrahnya, kita ni untuk hidup. That is what it is, yeah. And then meaning that must be a very good enough reason for the person don't want to live in this world anymore. In fact, for those who have these suicidal thoughts, it's not like they want to die, because living life is so unbearable. And then, for example, we talk about people who have clinical depression or depression. Depression is not just about sadness. Depression is not about low mood. When someone who have depression, they have to fulfill certain criteria or symptoms that they have. I mentioned these 9 symptoms that they're going to have in order for us to be able to say that they are clinically depressed. One, they have to have a low mood. The mood is not just sadness. It's the kind of mood that make you unable to describe it well, but when you experience, it's not really nice at all. And they have this loss ability to enjoy what they used to enjoy. We call it anhedonia, meaning that you're not able to enjoy what you like before. Now, musangking just doesn't taste anything. And then, being surrounded with your family members make you not able to enjoy it anymore. There is 2. You have to have one of these, and then you have another 4 out of what I'm going to share now, yeah, which is the sleep. Is either you sleep too much or can't sleep. Appetite is either you eat too much or you don't have any appetite to eat, and then affect your weight, having a weight loss despite you don't want to lose weight and don't pay for anything to lose your weight. And then focus. You're not able to use your mental, your cognitive to focus and then to make decision, and then you feel that you not as smart as before. And then you have this kind of, like we call it psychomotor retardation, meaning that everything is slow, the mind is slow, or the opposite, everything is fast, and then you are agitated. And then you have this kind of lot of negative thought that make you feel that you are a burden, you feel guilty for nothing wrong, and then you think that is so helpless and helpless. So that's don't think about the future, the hopelessness part. And then last, the thoughts of ending your life will come. No matter, because that is something out of your control. The thing that you want to, they also have a spectrum, like the death wish. You bangun pagi, you rasa kalau lah tak bangun, bestnya lagi lega, tak payah nak face all this world anymore. Or you tengah bawa melintas jalan, alah kalau lah bestnya kalau ada orang langgar, Aku dah redha dah kalau dah ni. Kalau wishnya kenapalah aku tak dapat COVID-19, dah tak buka emas dah. Jadi tuan-tuan yang anti vaksin tu semuanya dah ada yang nak mati dah. Then all of this, and then so to the end of the spectrum, someone who already attempted, dah plan nak buat. Jadi suicidal behavior is also varies from the thoughts and from the plan and from the attempt. And then they are always 50-50 sampai at the end. Bukannya dia nak mati, dia tak nak hidup lagi, tapi sentiasa 50-50. Sebab itulah kita tengok orang yang nak bunuh diri ini, sama ada dia ambil alkohol, dia ambil dadah, dan dia ada benda untuk trigger dia, untuk dia jadi 60-40, 55-45. Jadi itulah waktu tu kalaulah ada dengar bisikan iblis, entah-entah itulah yang menjadi 60 tu. Sebab itulah kita kadang-kadang memang tak boleh nak predict, nak prevent. That is the idea. Contohnya, jadi takkanlah orang tu akan datang keinginan untuk bunuh diri kalau tanpa sebab, tanpa yang sebab, dan dalam kes ini disebabkan oleh penyakit kemurungan itu. Saya nak tanya kepada mereka yang pernah dijangkiti COVID-19, kalau saya kata dan simptomnya adalah hilang dari rasa, boleh tak saya nak kata, tolonglah kuatkan semangat yang sekuat-kuatnya, fikir positif, tolong jangan hilang dari rasa itu, tolonglah rasa musangking ini seperti mana yang sepatutnya. Boleh ke? Jadi samalah juga kalau orang itu symptoms dia depression itu adalah suicidal thought, suicidal tu kita cakap macam tu, entah-entah itulah yang menyebabkan mereka terjun, kerana mereka ingatkan kita faham, sebaliknya kita terus memberi nasihat dan macam-macam lagi, seolah-olah mereka sengaja hendak mati dan hendak membuat satu salah dosa besar dalam agama Islam, dan saya pasti agama lain juga. Jadi inilah penting untuk kita memahami, untuk dengar betul-betul daripada terus menghakimi tanpa usul periksa terlebih dahulu.
Okay, ada satu soalan. When will mental disorders be medically recognized as illness impacting the insurance medical coverage?
Okay.
Yes.
Jadi itulah insurance not all this while the insurance coverage does not cover mental illness. And when AIA in Singapore, I think about 2 years ago, they come up with a certain policy to cover mental illness. Then AIA in Malaysia also say they want to do that, but it's not really as good coverage as what it's supposed to be. I think when we are talking about insurance coverage, we should not rely on the insurance company. At the end of the day, they're just a business entity. They need to come from the top and then also need to be supported from us as the service user. So now we have to, it should come from the Bank Negara, they should come from the human resource, they should come from the Ministry of Finance, to say that, and then also Ministry of Human Resource, because that is where we want to ensure everyone have been given the same right to be covered for the illness that not their fault. In fact, if someone has been diagnosed with diabetes, it's their fault compared to someone who been diagnosed with depression. Because diabetes, you do not look after yourself, what you eat, do not do physical activities. That's among the contributing factors for you to have diabetes. So you should feel embarrassed or feel guilty for having the diabetes, but not for depression. Depression is most not because of your weakness. You are not strong. You are spiritually weak. But if the toxic come from your boss, how can you do that? How can you remove the toxic from your boss? And then you shouldn't feel guilty. In fact, even the boss was the culprit. We the one who feel guilty. So not just that. Someone who are depressed, but you can pretending, they don't keep they don't tell to the whole world that they are depressed, and then they keep, and then no one understand. Sebab itulah bila kata depressed, nampak okey saja, betul ke depressed? Buat kot tu, buat pula. Dia being accused of nak MC, tak nak, malas nak kerja. And then kalau orang tu patah kaki, amboi, dapat bunga macam-macam ni. Bila pintu orang buka kalau dia pakai tongkat. Padahal kalau orang tu ada depression, the whole spirits are broken. No one even care to open the door, even to smile, because we think they are just malas.
Okay, that's a warning to all the bosses. Okay, so there's a question from Natina Rina. Some research claims that sense of coherence (SOC) is the ability to manage stress. Could Dr. Hazli elaborate in terms of management of stress as an individual?
Boleh explain sikit. I try to understand what is the meaning of the sense of coherence again, because I just want to ensure that I understand the meaning of that I can relate to my understanding.
Okay, because this is a question by one of the participants. Perhaps Datin Norina is.
Datin can unmute, Datin can, boleh ya? Nanti saya nak bagi saya faham, nanti saya just assume takut salah.
Yeah, Datin Norina, are you? I know you're somewhere. Datin Norina.
Okay. Tapi kita cakap, okay, the good thing is the idea, because we know when we are stressed out, because our body give all the sign and the signal. Datin dah nak?
Yes, Datin, can you please unmute?
Okay.
Datin, unmute please.
Okay, unmute. Dah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, okay.
All right. This sense of coherence comes from we call it a salutogenic feeling, because I think even in healthcare you talk about pathogenic and salutogenic. Salutogenic is something to do with environment, but again, sense of coherence is about individual sense. You can balance. So sense of coherence, so you may have a good sense of coherence when you can sort of weigh. So, but I'm not so sure in medical field is this terminology being used is about, yeah, so maybe you could elaborate on that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Datin.
Thank you. As I said just now, stress actually is something that is built in us. It's a gift from God to us as a way for us to defend ourselves. So the stress actually, when we are facing something that we consider as a challenge, as a threat, our body will react to that. So imagine, when we are facing someone that going to affect our survival. So basically, our body has been kind of built for that. Sebab kita tak ada apa, kita tak ada macam haiwan lain, kita tak ada racun, kita tak ada gigi, kita tak ada ni. Kita sometimes kita punya tajam tu apa words, tapi when we are being attacked, when there is we have the built-in system in our body that going to detect that and again to fight us, to make us ready to fight or flight. So stress actually is a system so make ourselves ready to fight or flight when we activate our autonomic nervous system, iaitu sympathetic dengan parasympathetic, kan? Ingat tak siapa-siapa yang PDPR yang duduk sebelah anak dia, kan, yang nak ambil exam tu, dah belajar baliklah sympathetic dengan parasympathetic. Sympathetic, once the sympathetic is being activated, our body is prepared to fight or flight, means that jantung will faster, so to pump the brain to the important organ, mainly the brain and all other organ for us to be able to fight, to the muscle, to the time. At that time, the usus or the stomach won't activate lah. Dia tak fikir pasal makan kalau kita dah nak mati, facing something that is important, is considered a challenge. And then when the threat has disappeared or we are able to run away from that, the parasympathetic will be activated, and then we go into our resting mode. So that is how we fight. And then when we are facing the stress as something that is considered a threat, another pathway is a hormonal pathway, which is involved the hormone, things like that. There is a two pathway that God gives us so that we can defend our body. Basically, there is a part of the brain that we call amygdala. It's more like the CCTV. They can detect where the threat is, and then they send to the brain. The brain activate the parasympathetic sympathetic and then activate the sympathetic. Basically, this for make us to survive. Last time we live in jungle, you know, where you can see all, you have to fight with all these lion, the tiger, snake. So, and then when the snake no longer there or we kill them, then the parasympathetic will be activated. So that is what happened, right? The problem now, our sympathetic activated all the time because the tiger not just at home, the tiger or the lion also in the office. Sometimes the snake inside the car when we go back home. So our sympathetic all the time, parasympathetic tak ada. So meaning that we are too much already. And then because of that, that's I said, we can listen to the signal that our body tell us. When we feel tired, when we cannot sleep, when have this, but we never listen to that. Takkan kau tahulah stres datang pada mana, takkan nak remove the boss, takkan nak bagi ular masuk dalam bilik supaya ular makan boss tu. We have no choice. But the problem is we have a choice. We don't have that. We have meaning that we need to detect the changes in us. And then that's the come back to whether what Datin said, coherent or incoherent, meaning that we need to be aware about ourselves, the hemodynamic, the way that we are stable. And when there is a changes in that, we're able to detect early. The problem with us, right? When we only go to stress management workshop, when we already stressed out, the bosses force us to go to stress management workshop when our performance going down. By right, we should ask them to go to the stress management workshop when they are being promoted. Because why? 6 months later, they will be stressed out. So teach them how to look after themselves to prevent that. That's what we need to do. The problem is, tak buat macam tu. Sebab apa? Sebelum ni, jangan cakap pasal stres ni, bukan psikiatri. Sebab saya sebab kerja banyak, duduk tunggu patient mai. Saya always datang. Always fikir macam, I wish I see this person 6 months earlier. I wish this person 1 year earlier. I can do something about it. I saw the worst case scenario, but what can I do to prevent that? Sometimes it can. Sometimes I have 5 patients from the same office, which caused by one boss. I wish I can see the boss. Tampak satu bagi satu das, 5 orang selamat. So the whole idea is we are not focusing on the prevention. This is what the reason we are doing now. We start having the conversation. We make it is something, it's a normalize something that is supposed to. Listen more to our body. Don't ignore that. Don't suppress the emotion. That's why our body does not respect us anymore.
Okay, tanpa bos tu. Okay, any tips to, there's a question from an anonymous attendee. Any tips to balance work-life family needs, especially for working architect moms out there? Heard lots of moms quitting the very demanding architecture world due to the need to raise family and their children.
Yes, okay. Okay. Oh, bagus soalan semua ni. Ini yang buat. That's why I said to architect Mas, saya rasa nanti saya akan pergi masa macam nak viva, tak tahu soalan apa, kena tanya macam jawab soalan ni. Okay. Okay, work-life balance. Wow, it's a nice word. Work-life balance. Siapa yang dekat sini dapat work-life balance? Yang ada work-life balance, sama ada maksudnya orang tu tipu. Sama ada dia tak work hard enough. Or there is no such thing as work-life balance. Macam mana nak dapat work-life balance kalau bila kita datang ke office, please don't bring anything about work no, this one is work. And then balik rumah tinggal, jangan ingat pasal kerja. Habis tu pukul 10 duk email lagi. No, I just send you a message in case so that no, don't think about it, don't think about tonight. Just have a rest. I just want to send in case I forgot. So that tomorrow morning you can start fast early. We can start. Hey, you know or not, if you send the message at night, your staff already thinking about it, they cannot sleep. If you cannot remember, tomorrow morning you send tomorrow morning, at least your staff have a good night's sleep. If you're afraid that you cannot remember, you are the ones should go and check whether your dementia or not. So the whole idea, yeah, sometimes, yeah, we have the good intention, but actually to cover our own insecurity, our own anxiety. So please lah, as a human being, we are selfish species, a creature. Sometimes with humble bragging to say that we are good. I don't know. We are self-centeredness, self-centered species. We have to admit that. But how can we minimize it? How can we look from others? What we should do is a work-life integration, not work-life balance. When there is a strict line to divide between work and life, we should integrate it. Find a way. How can we do that? Without we realize, this whole pandemic make us think should make us think hard enough. How can we integrate work and life? That is the reason we should consider how to do hybrid kind of work environment and stop from micromanaging our staff. Don't feel so takut dia ponteng kerja curi tulang. Tak payahlah tax pastikan rezeki kita halal, kita buat amboi. Semata-mata meaning what? We ourselves not secure enough to trust our colleague, our own subordinate. Meaning what? There's something wrong. There's something is not wrong. Something wrong is you. It's not the me. So the idea is that concept, yes, we have to go about it. We have to find a way. How we can help the mother who continue to be a mother, but at the same time, they be the worker the best worker that they can be. Not the best in terms of the outcome. I always focus the best in terms of the effort, but if so that they can be good enough. Be good enough architect is the best.
I think ramai bosses out there rasa macam terkena sebiji lah kot. Actually, I have a question, doctor, because when you have depression, you feel like you are depressed. So when is to know it's the right time to reach out?
Okay. Sebab tadi how to assess ourselves, right? Because online there are many we call it screening tools that we can see whether we are at what level our depression level is, our anxiety levels. There are a lot. For example, after this, Google check for PHQ-9. PHQ-9, remember the 9 symptoms I mentioned just now. PHQ-9, they have in Bahasa Malaysia, English and other languages as well. And then you answer the tools, and then they will give a score, and then the score will ask you or recommend what to do. So follow that, and then get it. For me, for any condition and any disease or any illness, we need to get the assessment. For those who can do the assessment to certify that. If we can, but the problem is most of us, we are afraid that what the consequences are for us when we want to open up. Because when we are talking about the symptoms of depression, it's not like when we have something that can visible to others, like they can understand. So that's something that we're afraid that this going to being dismissed for whatever that our complaint. Memang pun kita dah pergi jumpa doktor panel GP, dia kata amboi stres ke amboi. Saya ingat saya punya kerja tak stres ke? Doktor lagi stres kot. Lepas tu kata kalau nak MC cakap je lah, tak payah nak berlapik-lapik. The whole idea maknanya the doctors themselves is not equipped to detect, to screen. That's something that we need to change. So they should not be judgmental themselves. So the idea of screening, we can do ourselves. The one who's supposed to help us, the professional, can do that. But to me, this condition like depression, we need to rule out not due to thyroid, due to other imbalance. So they need to be rule out the medical condition. That's the idea. It need to be done by psychiatrists because Dr. GP semua dia tak nak. Jadi I will do that, but remember, the treatment not necessary by psychiatrists, not necessary by a counselor. The idea, we need to get assessed first, come up with some kind of diagnosis or working diagnosis. We cannot get the diagnosis just at one setting. At least we have some idea what to do next. Then I have this treatment plan or management plan that need to look from the 4 aspects: biological, psychological, social, and spiritual. So the biological part, I have to ensure that the sleep, the energy and everything's good. And then if not, I support with medication. Psychological part, to see this person, how perfectionist this person is, how whatever the psychological that contribute for the person to develop the illnesses. And then the social part, the environment, the family, all this, the good part or the not good part of that, the spiritual part. And not necessarily have to do everything at once. We have to see which one that the person need at this moment of time. So if at this time, I think they come very early, no need medication, I think you can get benefit by seeing a counselor. And then I will refer you to see a counselor. Oh, this one a little bit too much, but I think you need to see a clinical psychologist. No, I think you need to stay with me first, or I refer to you to another doctors who are female doctors who can understand your issues better, and then they will refer accordingly. So the whole idea is for us to know again about ourselves, what is the thing that whether it's already crossed the illness or still stress. Still kalau stress senang aja. I bagi cuti seminggu, I suruh dia pergi Langkawi, belilah coklat banyak-banyak, belilah mangkuk apa-apa bawa balik. Settle. Kalau itu stress, tak payah makan ubat apa-apa. So the whole idea is get the assessment, do the screening, tapi jangan tunggu, dapatkan. And then kalau tak ada apa-apa, kita focus on how to improve ourselves further, how to improve lagi. I will refer you to pergi mana? Pergi gym Minda. Gym Minda. Memang nak buka dah satu gym Minda, yang lepas dia pergi tu, dia berketul-ketul otak dia, sebab kuat sangat dia punya Minda dia.
Okay, takut balik dari Langkawi ada credit card stress pula, doktor. Okay, there's a question by Boon Hin Cheng. Depression in architects does not happen during the pandemic. That's a question. Does architects' high level of stature and esteem contribute to depression?
Okay. So based on the study, kan, I never, I mean, the architect did not really the high risk to develop macam suicide ke depression. Sebab saya rasa arkitek depress sebab bila yang tak dapat bayaran je kot. I don't know. It's not because okay, for example, we're talking about of course the good. I mean, not the good. Depression, mental illness does not discriminate. Meaning, everyone can develop depression. Whether you are male or female, of course, female has a higher risk to develop depression and anxiety compared to male. But male has higher to other certain disorder or mental illness. Dia ada fair kat situ juga. Bukan nak kata tu. For example, substance abuse, alcohol, nicotine, addiction is more in men. Suicide, men attempted less, female attempted more, but the one who completed suicide, men. So
does that have to do with hormone, doctor?
No, it's many things again, but many explanation for that. One of them is like men when they nekat, dia betul-betul buat. Cara dia buat tu memang betul-betul 100% mati. Perempuan dia ni, macam itulah, macam tu. Banyak lagi lah. Hormon pun ada juga. Tapi itulah basically they come to the gender. But in general, the mental illness does not discriminate. Meaning architect also can have depression. And then, for example, the suicide rate in Malaysia is actually increased already before the pandemic, but again not being talked about again. So if we look at the data by the again, WHO, the 2020 last year, depression alone is the second most disable condition, just below the heart condition. But we know that mental illness ada banyak depression aja tu. Jadi sebab itu that some people said that mental illness pandemic is already started even before the pandemic of COVID-19. But of course, after this is more and more people aware, and then interesting enough, if more and more people come forward to seek help, and then I can see also the increased number or percentage of men came forward to ask for help, which is a very positive thing to do actually. Yeah. So the idea is the architect is the idea is the stress level. The reason for us to have a depression is not just at workplace also, right? So, but somehow I think the architect is one of the contributing factors for the depression is their working hours. They ignore day and night. Their job is actually like pressure at the deadline. Some additional needs from the customer is always ad hoc. And then maksudnya arkitek ni dapat depression sebab apa? Dia kena tahan sakit hati tu. Kalau and then if you look at the arkitek yang kalau dia sakit hati, dia marah, dia hamput, dia bantai balik tu, dia orang semuanya tak ada depres pun. Yang depres ni siapa? Depres ni arkitek yang baik-baik. Yang arkitek yang simpan dalam, yang dah jadi pekasam, itulah arkitek yang tu yang dapat depression tu. Tak apalah, janganlah pula lepas ni kan arkitek mam nak suruh semua orang bantai marah, tak. Betul dia, we have to know how to express our emotion in a way that get the message across without cause much problems after that.
Subsequent to you just mentioned tadi, among the professions, which categories suffer the most? Maybe which category yang consult you the most?
Okay.
Is it okay to share that?
Okay. So again, that is an interesting fact yang saya nak share kan. When we are very severely depressed, they are the one who normally don't come and seek help. Because for them to get out from the house, they need a lot of energy. So these the people, they need people, other people to support them, to come with them for the appointment, to make appointment for them. That's what we have to remember. Maknanya, sebab itulah bila bendera putih tu, orang yang angkat bendera putih tu, dia masih ada tenaga nak cacak bendera putih depan rumah dia. Dan orang yang sebenarnya perlukan bendera putih tu, simpan bendera putih ke dalam malu dan tak larat nak pergi ke depan. The whole idea about for us to be aware about this, so that we can be the people who can help us, can help other person to seek, come forward to seek help. So jadi bila kita tengok macam tu, jadi kita nampak yang mana yang datang. Yang mana yang datang ni yang most is directly affected by this pandemic right now. Is either they lost their source of income, or they are affected by the movement or the rules and regulation that they affected. For example, they have to be away from their family members, that they have to go at new, much more difficult routine for them to just continue their life. And also the one who are affected directly by the COVID and infected and lost someone due to the COVID as well. And that one interesting part also, because not many of them coming now. I'm pretty sure once this over, more and more of them will come. The one who are infected COVID, now they have the sequelae of the infection and the loss, for those who are facing the loss of people due to COVID. And another thing that is the frontliner, sometimes we underestimate the impact to them, even though we think that they are in the hospital. But again, this is the time yang kita kata what they need is not the psychological support. They need rest. They need more people who can take their shift and then do that. So that is something that we need to look into. But of course, people who are being vulnerable prior to pandemic, they have financial difficulties, and then they're also having issues that are not aware before They already had the issue, but they are not aware before the pandemic. They are the one who have a risk. So that's the reason there are increase in the number of people come forward because of the marital issues, relationship issues. Because we have to come to the fact that before this, we use work, we use other reason for us to fix what happened at home. Now, when the pandemic, we can't run away anymore. We cannot use any excuses. Last time, outstation too, as a reason for us to reduce the argument with the loved one. Now, you have to face. And then interesting also, during this, duduk sekali ni lah, baru terjumpa sana, terjumpa sini. Lepas tu, barulah jadi. Jadi, that's also come forward as well. It shows that the whole thing is affect us in any way, in a different way as well, and then not necessarily. But of course, there are certain groups, they are much more vulnerable to develop this more than just a stress, that some of them are being crossed the line, which they need more help. And most important thing they need is the assessment first. To me, it's assessment. That is the key that we need to do. It's nothing wrong about get ours. If we are fit and well, means that we have screen another 1 year to see what is the level. Most of us can do that ourselves with the condition that we start to know ourselves again.
Okay, Doctor, there's a question. Can you share any support group for the suffered or any group we can volunteer to contribute in helping people with mental health in the community?
Okay. MMHA, mental health, MMHA. They has been around for quite for a long time. Another one that I think MIASA, 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 mental illness awareness and support association. The president, Dr. Puan Anita, she herself is the peers. Now the words they use in the NGO, they want to use patients. They want you to use trying to use peers, someone who have life experience. So I think they are MIASA and MMHA. There are two organizations that they are doing actively, and I think please check their website. They have a good website. Then they are able to the place that you go and want to support and also get support. So that is what the whole idea. Not just belongs to the patients and the family, anyone. And then the important now is for us to increase the level of understanding. The mental health literacy in Malaysia is low actually. So that's what we're doing now. We have to have more conversation because everyone at one point of their life, they're going to be challenged with this, or they're going to see someone who have this, who they can help.
Okay, we have about 7 more minutes. One last question. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Hazli. Is insomnia a sign of stress or an effect from mental health issues? It seems that the brain suddenly becomes active the moment I try to sleep at bedtime, and it takes hours before finally falling asleep. So is there any way to self-manage insomnia, or do I need to see someone to have it diagnosed or treated? Jazakallah.
Okay. Insomnia is a symptoms, and then the tricky part, the primary insomnia, it can be a condition or illness. But the primary insomnia means that we rule out everything else where we cannot find the causes, we'll call the primary insomnia. So that is an illness, meaning that we need to assess first and investigate fully. And insomnia is more like fever. So fever or like cough, like lost a sense of a taste. So there is a symptoms, but which illness this insomnia belongs to. So that's what we want to find out, right? And could the insomnia is a part of stress response. So that's what we need to know as well. So we have to check something or to rule out something that we can do something about it. If this is part of stress, we go to these stress management strategies. But if this insomnia is a part of the condition or the illness, we have to go to this pathway of getting it treated. And insomnia itself, there are need for me, I need to know more about this insomnia. What do you mean by insomnia? It's either difficulty fall asleep, or you sleep was interrupted, or you wake up early, or when you wake up you don't feel rested, or there are some other thing happen during your sleep, nightmares, meaning that. And then how's the relationship between sleep and other symptoms? So that is the reason for us to get more and more information. And then I want to rule out that your sleep difficulty that you have is not due to your thyroid function, for example, not due to other conditions. Because sometimes, when the hormonal, and when you're approaching menopausal, for example, menopause state, that's also can affect your sleep as well. And then if there is some other issue that you need to do, that it can be adjusting to the task or something that is important to you, make you unable to sleep as well. So to me, insomnia, the sleep difficulties or sleep problems, is a kind of the symptoms that invite us to ask more, to find more, and to rule out. And the insomnia can be part of the depression, can be part of bipolar, can be part of many anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorder also, they have many types of anxiety disorder, whether it's a panic disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, social phobia, OCD, meaning that there are a lot more that we do not know that. But all of these conditions I mentioned just now is not something, it's not belongs to the severe mental illness. It's not gila. That one is really the condition that have a very good management, treatment that make you able to recover. In fact, make you able to be the better person that you can be. That's why I really believe that the role of me is not to treat, to remove the insomnia, but make you appreciate your sleep better, and then enjoy to sleep, and make you be the best version of yourself. So, sebab tu dah kita datang jumpa Dr. Hasli.
Okay, I was just about to close the Q&A, but I just saw one very good question by Dr. Norina. So perhaps this will be one that we architects are very, very relevant. It says here, since you have worked in a public hospital before, any feedback could you give us designers whether our design contributes positively or vice versa to mental health of staff, patients, and visitors?
Oh my goodness.
That will be the last one for you, Doctor.
No, I love this. In fact, I think we should work together. Sebabnya, I want to build a hospital. So please, how to make the hospital that can help a patient to feel better even before they come to see. Masuk hospital, masuk gate hospital dah okay. Dah cabut balik. If we can do that, help us a lot. Okay. The example, I give the example. This is a real case story. I mean, the real. I have someone. A patient who have postpartum depressions, and then they committed suicide after the 4 months they give birth. And then the parents, and then is the way they're having difficulties to cope with that. The grief again is a normal process. Grief is not an illness. The experience that we have after lost the loved one is not an illness. How complicated was that? And then they have the intention to honor this their daughter, and then to build a grief center. And then there is no grief center in Malaysia. The place that where people who are grief can go and get support, not necessarily got treatment, just be there, because if they want to just sit there and then do nothing, or they want to talk, or they want to do, and then we don't have a grief center. So what are the design that we need to make the person who lost someone, when they come to this building or they come to this center, helping the process of grieving better? The color, the design, the chair, the room, and then that fit the local needs, that fit the earth, that adakah dengan memandang sawah padi dan tengok tu akan make us feel better. So of course the importance of the design in because that's what we have to do. That's what we need to consider. What else that we can do from something that the design itself can help the recovery process. Because I I don't want to focus just on treatment, on that diagnosis, because unfortunately, because the limited resources that we have, in public setting, because of that, we have a good service in public setting because it's too much overload, and the whole idea about the setup make it does reflect the quality of the services that they provide. So, and then I realized it can be done in the private setting. So that's what I want to do. That's the reason I retired early and come to the private practice and then see the potential and the possibility of working together with a different kind of professional to go with the same intention to provide a better standard and better care for Malaysians. So I want also that it can cater for B40. I don't want to say that, oh, B40 you pergi ke ke hospital kerajaan. Oh no, B40 also deserve to have a treatment as good as any other, but we need to find a way to support so that it make it accessible to them. I'll try to go for zakat and then make sure that people who like concept dialysis, they can go to the private and then they got support from zakat. The same thing also, if the B40 they want to get, and then there is support for that. And then how the environment can contribute, how can make them able to, as I said, to have a much more better mental health level just by the way it was designed. I really want that. Of course, I can't because that's not my area. But I think since Dr. Norina asking a very good question, and then how can we manipulate and utilize the environment so to be in sync with what the psyche of the person in order for them to be the best version of themselves.
Thank you, Dr. Hazli. We do have in mind to invite architects in the future who has done a project that is related to what you are saying. So we shall invite you. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you participants for all the questions, and thank you, Dr. Hazli and all, for this really vibrant session. It makes me smile, it makes me laugh. I don't know, sakit perut tanya gelak kan. Okay, so before we close, now Dr. Hazli,
sebabnya ni architect, when I joined, ini cerita betul, when I want to join masters in psychiatrist, and then they interview me why I want to be a psychiatrist. I said I want to be a psychiatrist because I want to change the way people see psychiatrist. Before, the masyarakat tak dapat bezakan mana satu psychiatrist, mana satu pesakit. Sama saja mereka. So I want to make the psychiatrist look more attractive than the patient. And then when I go for election as the president for Malaysian Psychiatric Association, I said that I want to go beyond the psychiatric fraternity because I don't want to make this an exclusive group of people. Yang shop sendiri padahal orang kat luar sana tak tahu pun who you are. So the whole idea is have to make that, and then now is my mission is to make that. I don't want lagi buat cerita-cerita sedih, tak payah nak minta tolong lah, no. I just want to make that psychiatrist, mental health mental health is interesting, mental health and looks attractive, sexy, and mental health is profitable. It is. So, and then how can we make that and then use that profit to help others who in needs?
Okay, so overall, number one, money don't buy happiness. One of the best thing is to give back to the society. Work-life balance is a good concept. And yeah, jobs for you guys, grief center, and more from Dr. Hazli. Okay, so just a few more minutes. Doctor, you have 5 words that you want to tell us so that we can balik terngiang-ngiang dengan your message in 5 words.
Okay, maaf, sebelum tu saya nak menjelas sedikit. Maaf doktor dan moderator. Saya rasa Mr. Teo, saya nampak ada icon raise hand di situ. Mungkin Mr. Teo, do you have something in mind or something you want to share?
After this session, I would like to invite Dr. Hazli, see whether possible to make SEAMASTER paint in color that can trick for this kind of psychology. Dr. Hazri.
Boleh. I'm more than happy.
Let's work together, see how the color can make people happy.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so good.
And then interesting also, Mr. Teo.
Yeah.
We are talking about emotion. Emotion that have a primary, secondary, and tertiary, just like colors. But the problem is we never appreciate the colors of emotion.
Yeah. After this event, then maybe we can talk further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will.
Thank you very much.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Endorsed by Dr. Hazli.
Yes.
Okay, 5 words, Dr. Hazli.
Okay. 5 words. Banyak. That's the problem. That's very stressful for me to come up with 5 words. I think moving forward together, be good enough.
Okay. Architect Samsia, you have any 5 words?
Okay. Dr. Hazli macam lebih dari 5 je.
Buanglah grammar tu kita buang, okey lah tu. Yeah.
Okay. Same. I think nak cari 5 words tu macam susah kan? But perhaps for me, just because of the pandemic, perhaps the storm won't stay forever. That's my 5 words.
Okay, that's good. And my 5 word will be, you will never walk alone.
So
there is, I know Liverpool will be happy listening to this, yeah? Okay, thank you. And thank you again. We have come to the end of the session. Yes, Doctor.
Belum. Nanti saya nak buat promosi sikit.
Yes. We will.
Okay, promosi. No, bukan apa nanti. TV Al-Hijrah dia akan buat satu program yang nama dia Jiwa. Start daripada 13 bulan 10 ni pukul 5.30 ya. 5.30 petang. TV di mana kita akan ada pesakit yang akan bercerita. Dia will share dia story. So it's a real and then it's unfiltered. That is going to be something that make us realize that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, actually, Dr. Hazli, we will after this at the end of this session, we'll be sharing the short video clip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. It's okay to not be okay. Macam drama Korea je. So now we have come to the session. My kopi pun dah nak habis minum, right? So before we end it,
but of course, the coffee does not taste the same anymore.
Hopefully it should taste better. Right. So before we end it, please accept our sincere apologies should there be any shortcomings. However, we hope that you have gained as much from the talk Q&A session today and as much laughter that we have today too. So right, thank you for your participation and for being awesome participants today. Have a pleasant weekend. And I don't know if I can share the screen that also for PAM medical series, we will have more events coming up soon for the next couple of months. Tak keluar ya dalam screen. We will have a few more doctors. I think next month will be about your heart. We'll have Dr. Hamza. Nutrition and supplements. So eat good, eat well. January we'll have a looking good in front of client. Yeah. And then about your teeth as well. Ya, jaga gigi supaya boleh senyum lagi manis. And lastly, rehab and accessibility. This is where after 2 years of cuti, I think you need a bit of movement, rehab for your body. Okay, thank you for Southern Chapter for this wonderful collaboration. We hope to do this again in the future. Back to you, Architect Samsia.
Okay, thank you, Architect Mumtaza and our speaker, Dr. Hazli. Very interesting sharing, very great sharing. In fact, I think this is perhaps the first time we have this kind of session. Kalau tak sebelum ni, it's all about architecture, how to design, technical talk and so on. Yeah. But this time, I think because of the COVID-19 as well and our current situation, we have this session and I think everybody benefit from it, and it's good for our members, and perhaps we are going to have more session like this after this perhaps in the different platform. Yeah, so hari ni we learn a lot about mental health. So mental health is not just like, you know, straight away you jumpa psychiatrist and people say that you gila, yeah. So when you are depressed, assess yourself and perhaps you reach out, yeah. And I think my wish is that we can all be back on our feet, yeah, like we used to, and perhaps you know, in better condition with better spirits and a good you know, positive mind, yeah. So again, I think perhaps the tech team after this will share the short video clip, a promotion clip from Dr. Hazli, up and coming session with Astro. So with this, I thank you all the team for the good work and good effort. And with that, I thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Back to you, Sharifah.
Okay, terima kasih. Dan di kesempatan ini juga saya ingin mengucapkan jutaan terima kasih kepada yang berbahagia Dr. Hazli Zakaria, Presiden Persatuan Psikiatri Malaysia, kerana bersama-sama dengan kita pada tengah hari ini, dan juga tidak dilupakan kepada dua moderator kita yang handal belaka. Bila ada mic dekat dia orang, tak putus-putus idea dia bercakap. Alhamdulillah, terima kasih kepada moderator yang berusaha, Arkitek Mumtazah Mustajab dan Arkitek Samsia Abdullah. Terima kasih. Baiklah, sebelum kita berehat seketika, di sini sebagai tanda penghargaan kepada speaker kita, pihak PAMSo ingin menyampaikan sedikit e-certificate kepada kita punya speaker. Dipersilakan. E-certificate, ya, terima kasih. Sekarang ni semua dalam dunia digital. Okey, sebelum kita berada, sama-sama kita saksikan tayangan video montaj ini. Ya, itu dia. Jangan lupa untuk kita tonton ya rancangan Jiwa setiap hari Rabu 5:30 petang. Ini dia hasil idea daripada doktor sendiri. Terima kasih doktor. Baiklah para hadirin sekalian, kita telah pun mengakhiri sesi pagi kita pada majlis hari ini.